Hello, this is a video about how to land in the zone in a Cessna in Arma 3 King of the Hill, or to just make money with by doing paradrops, just for giggles really. So I'll just go over the controls really quickly. So obviously throttles, shift to go faster, Z to go slower. Air brake is the X key. It's not very good in the Cessna, but it's still something that you can use. Flaps, I wouldn't use the action menu for flaps. Instead use left control and mouse wheel up and down to control how far down or up your flaps are. So obviously when you're landing in the LZ, you want to be landing in the shortest area possible, and that is why flaps are one of the most important things when you're trying to land in the hill. Let me explain why. So the purpose of flaps is that you get increased lift, which in turn allows your aircraft to have a lower stall speed. The drawback to this is, of course, that you get increased drag, which means decreased airspeed. So what you use flaps for is so that you can land slower, because it means having a lower stall speed means that you can touch down on the runway more gently, and a little bit of flaps will actually make it so that you can take off on a runway sooner than you would without flaps, because you have increased lift. Oh, it can also be good for like losing energy. So as like an improvised air brake, because you just lose loads of speed from it. So full flaps, obviously they're for landing, because you're going to get the maximum possible, lowest possible stall speed, which means you can land more gently, and which means in turn you require a shorter landing strip. Middle flaps is for takeoff. So the takeoff speed with middle flaps is exactly the same as with full flaps, so you may as well use middle flaps because you're getting less drag for the same takeoff speed, which is 120 km per hour. So no flaps obviously is for just normal flying after you've taken off and you're in the air. Air speeds, these are the speeds that you need to know for everything. 120 km per hour is the takeoff speed with takeoff flaps. 160 km per hour is kind of a steady cruising speed that you should be approaching your LZ at. 140 km per hour is approach speed that you should be really closing in on your landing strip at, that you should be like close to it at, next to it, and 130 km per hour should be touchdown speed, and that is all with full flaps, those last three. And you also need to judge the altitude for yourself, because the altimeter in Arma 3 goes off of ground level and not sea level, which is useless in planes. It doesn't help you at all. So I'll start us off with a really easy example of just a really easy landing. I should clarify, you can do these landings on almost all maps. Some maps are better than others. As long as you've got about 100 meters of space, of length, doesn't matter about width, it's all about the length. You can land it. So yeah, as you can see here, I'm coming in full flaps down, 146 km per hour. Vertical objects like these poles are going to be a bit annoying, but my advice is to just air brake and dive over them. You want to be coming into the ground as horizontally as possible to make for as smooth a landing as possible. You see I touched down about 135 km per hour, which is ideal. I don't do it in this clip, but you should put your air brakes up as soon as you land, because you will slow down faster if you're grinding along the floor without flaps down, so flaps up when you've landed, and also air brake. This clip is just to prove that you can dive over a hill and land on a pretty short runway in the AO. You can see here I'm wiggling my nose around just to lose as much airspeed as possible there, trying to get it down to 146 km per hour, or about 140 for my approach speed. Air brake all the way down this hill, as my attitude is a bit nose down. Air brake off here, trying to get it down to 130 for touchdown. Flare at the end there. Flaps up, air brake all the way, so I can slow down nicely there. Here's just a little example, just to prove that you can land on a crappy little dirty little dirt path. Flaps all the way down, air brake in, trying to get my approach speed down to 146, 140 thereabouts. Yeah, there you go, 140. Keep it slowing down. There you go. Of course, you don't have to land in the AO. You could just drop people off. You would actually make money if you drop people off, but I think it's way funnier if you just land in the AO every single time. Yeah, you see, if I had flaps up down there, then if I hit that bump with flaps down, I would float up into the air and then come crashing down and mess up my landing gear. So flaps up as soon as you make contact with the ground, as soon as you touch down. Here's an example just showing how a gradual decrease of speed helps. I've got my engine off, by the way, because enemies can't hear you when you come into the zone. It's like a little stealth plane. So yeah, 140 kilometers per hour. I come in a bit too slow here, so I come down a bit hard, but that's alright. Still didn't damage anything. Yeah. So yeah, I should say, you do obviously need to have a clear runway. I mean, you can make it down these, you can land on these main roads and take off on these main roads. It's just a bit tricky, because of the those white posts on the side of the road, and obviously lampposts and things like that will mess you up if you hit them, but you can do it quite easily with enough practice. But if you're new, or if you're just starting out, I'd get a car and just knock them down, or if there's like a bend, like you can see in this clip here, this example, then just knock them down, and then it'll just be way easier for you. As you can see here, 120 kilometers per hour is takeoff speed, with flaps part way down. That's, in other words, takeoff flaps. Yeah. This is a clip, an example just to show you can take off on dirt roads. Just a bit of rudder, which is Q&E obviously. Ailerons and elevator WASD, obviously. Yeah, you can take off on anything. If it's got a bend, just rudder around it, like you're in a car. Yeah, so with this method, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but you can obviously make money if you're just para-dropping people, but you won't really make money if you're landing in the zone, because you're gonna die and your plane's gonna blow up, and these planes are expensive, so it's just way funnier you're landing in the zone every single time, really. So yeah, this is just me landing on some roads, really.
Chris, are you flying people in, Chris?
Yeah, just a bit of fun, really. Yeah. It's good. It's good stuff. Caesar's pretty easy.